So today we're with John Kelly. John Kelly is a personal injury attorney. He's located in Phoenix, Arizona. And today he's helping us out by answering some questions that were posted online, specifically related to car accidents. If you were in a car accident, some of these questions are pretty broad in scope, so these may be applicable to you. And if you're one of the people that asked questions, obviously you're getting your answer right now. In addition, John has volunteered that at the end of the video, after you watch it, if you have additional questions, you can post them in the comments of YouTube. He's actually going to come back and answer those. So with that said, I'm going to ask some questions directly from the web to John. So John, the first question was from Daryl. He says he was in a wreck 2 months ago with minor injuries. The insurance company is offering to pay him a supplement which is covering more than his actual expenses. Does he still need an attorney?
Thank you, Ryan, for having me have these questions. As far as Daryl's concerned, I get this question quite often. Someone has been negotiating with the insurance company for any particular amount of time. They may have a settlement offer made, and it may cover all their expenses. So they're wondering, do I need to hire an attorney? One of the considerations they need to have is that insurance companies want to minimize the amount of money that they're paying out. So they're not necessarily going to inform Daryl if there's any other areas of compensation that would be available to him. What isn't mentioned in his question is whether the insurance company had provided any monetary value for his pain and suffering. They haven't taken into consideration whether he missed work from the accident or what other avenues in his policy he may have, such as medical payments, what we call med pay, or other avenues that may be available to him that the insurance company is either not necessarily letting him know or informing him of. So one of the things he can do is at least have a consultation. And at the Kelly Law Team, I always sit down with clients, I look at their policy, it's a free consultation, and I give them advice about whether or not they could possibly do better. A lot of times they can, but sometimes I say, look, you got a good settlement here. So, it never is a bad thing to at least talk to an attorney to determine if there's more money out there available.
Okay, well that makes a lot of sense actually. Okay, next question was from Janet. She said her car had a blowout and ended up running into a light pole. She said no one was hurt, but she's asking if she can sue the tire manufacturer.
Yeah, so a lawsuit against a tire manufacturer and actually the person that sold the tire to them also could be in play in this. And that's going to be a products liability case, and there would have to be negligence on the part of either the tire manufacturer or the realtor. But the interesting thing is that there wasn't any injuries, so we're talking about property damage only. So there's also the consideration if there was damage to the vehicle, if it wasn't significant damage, it may be a lot of effort to go after a tire manufacturer to get them to pay for, say it was $1,000 in damage. You may have a hard time pursuing that claim and having the value there. But with any products liability cases, I get these a lot where there are tire defects, and in those cases, a lot of times in truck accidents, we're looking at the manufacturer of the tire. The insurance companies are going to want to say, look, this was a maintenance issue. That tire should have been replaced at a certain amount of miles. So we have to do a little bit of investigation. But absolutely, anytime there's a wreck, there's always the possibility of a products liability case that kind of goes along with the personal injury case or property damage.
Okay, all right, that makes sense. Next question was from Jim. Said, my wife and I were in a car accident, and the insurance company is attempting to negotiate a settlement. Why would I need to pay an attorney?
Right. So, kind of along the same lines there. The insurance companies, I've had several cases where the insurance companies will call the injured party immediately, want to get a statement, want to try to settle the claim as soon as they can. The concerns are many there. One, we don't know what the extent of the damages are to the individual, how hurt they are. A lot of people don't realize, but they get in an accident, they feel okay the first day, the next day is when they start really hurting. And they need to be evaluated by someone, a doctor, to determine what the extent of their injuries are before they go and settle the claim. And the underlying thing that I'm kind of talking about already is that these insurance companies, the big insurance companies, they're there to minimize their costs. They have attorneys hired for them to try to prevent people from getting settlements that are, you know, of large monetary sums. So, you know, you think that your insurance company is on your side and trying to keep the process. A lot of times they're trying to get admissions from you, trying to find ways that they can minimize the amount that they're going to, you know, have to pay out. So it's a good idea to at least consult with an attorney to make sure that they're negotiating fairly with you. And from there, you kind of have the decision of whether to hire an attorney or to pursue the settlement.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Next one, and you kind of touched on this slightly, but and I guess this is Bruce asked, if you handle my case, how long would it take for me to get paid?
Okay, so this is a question that I, believe it or not, get asked a lot. You know, people want to know when they're going to get their money from the accident, and you know, it's understandable. They're going through a lot at the time. They're injured. They've lost. You know, presumably their vehicle is potentially totaled in the accident, so they need that income to be able to get into another vehicle for transportation just to get to the doctors, and yet alone they need to pay their doctors, some of them. So the settlement actually can take a significant amount of time. You know, if it's minor injuries, you know, we may be talking a couple of months. If it's major injuries, it can be years. And a lot is driven by the actual injuries that an individual has. The good news is that we always make sure that we get providers that would work on a lien basis. And what a lien basis it means is that there's no money out of pocket for the injured party to get that treatment. And then the provider just takes part of the settlement when it comes out. So that can help with that time lag. Once the treatment is done, usually the attorneys can work very quickly to get a settlement at that point. So it's not really on the attorney to determine how long it goes. It's actually the person who's injured to see the extent of their damages. And one concern is if you try to settle the claim too quickly, you're going to sign a release that basically says that you cannot go back after any further claims for injuries and monetary value. So you don't want to settle your claim before you know the extent of your injuries.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. And last question we had here was from Fan. Fan asked, I was hit by a truck last year and ended up in the hospital for 2 weeks. And insurance covered my expenses, excluding my lost time at work. But now I'm having back issues again. Is it possible to get these new expenses covered?
And that kind of also, with Fan, that question dovetails into what I was just talking about with the settling your claim. The big question with hers is, has she negotiated and settled her claim? If she has, it's very likely that she had to sign a document that releases the insurance company from any further liability, which means that she may be out of luck. Now, on the other hand, if she hasn't settled that claim, if it's still an outstanding claim, and the statute of limits hasn't run, which is another issue your attorney can kind of walk you through, then she should be able to get that treatment and make a claim to the insurance company. So it should be available to her depending on what stage she is at through the process.
Okay, and assuming she didn't sign off on anything, I guess. So, okay, well, those were the questions that were posted. Like I said, if you have been in a car accident or an auto accident, just post your questions below. John has volunteered to answer these. John, is there anything else you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, I'd be available to answer any further questions, any follow-up questions. I'd broadcast again. And Ryan, I appreciate the opportunity to answer the questions of your callers. Thanks.
Thanks.